The plane crash was sudden, violent, and utterly terrifying. One moment, I was dozing off in my cramped economy seat, dreaming of my upcoming vacation in Fiji, and the next, the world was a screaming, shuddering nightmare of alarms and panic. The last thing I remembered was the sickening lurch as the aircraft plummeted, the oxygen masks dropping like plastic spiders, and then blackness. I woke up to the sound of waves. Gentle, rhythmic, almost mocking in their serenity. My body ached as if I'd been thrown down a flight of stairs, and my mouth tasted like salt and copper. Sand clung to my face, my clothes, my everything. Groaning, I rolled onto my back and squinted against the blinding sun. Blue sky, palm trees. The wreckage of the plane scattered along the shore like broken toys. I was alive, but I was also completely, utterly alone. The first few days were a blur of survival instincts, finding fresh water, scavenging for food, building a makeshift shelter from palm fronds and driftwood. I had always considered myself a decent outdoorsman, but reality quickly humbled me. My hands blistered from trying to start a fire. My stomach growled relentlessly, unsatisfied by the handful of berries and tiny crabs I managed to catch. And worst of all, the crushing loneliness set in, gnawing at my sanity like a persistent rat. Then, on the 5th day, I found her. At first, I thought it was another survivor. My heart leapt as I spotted the colorful fabric tangled in the branches near the shore. But as I pulled it free, my excitement turned to confusion. It wasn't just any fabric, it was a dress. A dress. Floral, flowy, the kind you'd see on a woman strolling through a summer market. And beneath it, nestled in the sand like buried treasure, was a suitcase. A pink suitcase. I shouldn't have cared. Clothes were the last thing I needed when survival was still uncertain. But something about that suitcase called to me. Maybe it was the sheer absurdity of finding something so frivolous in such a dire situation. Maybe it was the loneliness whispering in my ear. Or maybe, just maybe, it was the tiny, secret part of me that had always been curious. I opened it. Inside was a world of femininity. Dresses, skirts, blouses, all in soft pastels and vibrant prints. Lacy underthings that felt scandalous just to touch. Makeup still intact in its little compacts and tubes. Even a pair of strappy sandals that looked utterly impractical for island life. I laughed. A bitter, exhausted laugh. What cruel joke was this? Stranded on a deserted island, and the universe drops a woman's wardrobe at my feet? But as the days wore on, my amusement faded into something else. Something dangerous. The loneliness was getting to me. The silence was unbearable. And the clothes, well, they were just there, weren't they? Soft. Pretty. A distraction. One evening, after another failed attempt at catching fish, I gave in. It started as a joke. A way to pass the time. I slipped into one of the dresses, half expecting to feel ridiculous. But the fabric was light, comfortable against my sunburned skin. The way it swayed as I walked was hypnotic. I found myself running my hands over the curves it created, the way it made my body look different. Softer. Then came the makeup. I had no idea what I was doing, but I tried anyway. Lipstick smudged at first, but after a few clumsy attempts, I managed to color my lips a deep, glossy red. Mascara made my lashes longer, darker. Blush gave my cheeks a flushed, healthy glow. I stared at my reflection in a piece of polished metal from the wreckage. A stranger stared back. Her eyes were wide, uncertain, but there was something else there too. A spark. A thrill. That night, I didn't feel so alone. Days turned into weeks. My survival skills improved. I built a better shelter, learned to fish more efficiently, even managed a small garden. But my secret ritual became the highlight of my existence. Every evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, I transformed. The dresses became my armor, the makeup my mask, and with each passing day, the line between survival and fantasy blurred. I started to enjoy it, the way the fabric hugged my body, the delicate click of heels on rock, the way the wind played with the hem of my skirt. It was intoxicating, liberating, And then one day, I realized something terrifying. I didn't want to stop. The thought of rescue, of going back to my old life, filled me with dread.
Who was I out there?
Just another faceless man in a world that demanded toughness, stoicism. But here I was whoever I wanted to be. Here I was her. The island had changed me, not just in survival but in soul. And as I stood on the shore one evening, wearing a sundress that fluttered in the breeze, I wondered, would I ever want to go back? The ocean didn't answer. But deep down, I already knew. The weeks stretched into months, and the island became less of a prison and more of a sanctuary. My survival routine was second nature now. Fresh water from the rocky spring, fish from the shallows, coconuts for sweetness. But my true survival, the thing that kept my mind from unraveling, was the transformation. Every evening, as the sun bled into the horizon, I would retreat to my shelter, now more of a proper hut, woven with palm leaves and lined with salvaged fabric, and let myself become her. The dresses fit better now, my body having softened from the lack of rugged masculinity the world had once demanded of me. My hair, once short and practical, now fell in unruly waves past my shoulders. I had even managed to fashion a crude razor from a piece of wreckage, keeping my legs and arms smooth, relishing the way the breeze whispered against bare skin. I had stopped thinking of this as a game. It was a need. One afternoon, while exploring the far side of the island, a stretch of beach I rarely visited, I stumbled upon another suitcase. This one was smaller, waterlogged, but still intact. My hands trembled as I pried it open. Inside, nestled among damp clothes, was a treasure trove, a handheld mirror, still unbroken, a few more cosmetics, and most thrilling of all, a wig. Long, silky, auburn hair cascading in loose curls. I clutched it to my chest like a lifeline. That night, under the glow of my carefully tended fire, I became someone else entirely. The wig transformed me. With the makeup carefully applied, foundation to even out my sun-kissed skin, eyeliner to accentuate my eyes, lipstick to plump my mouth, I barely recognized myself. The reflection in the mirror was feminine. Not a man playing dress-up, but a woman. And for the first time since the crash, I felt whole. But the island had one last surprise for me. One morning, as I waded through the shallows searching for shellfish, I spotted something in the distance. A shape on the horizon. My heart lurched. Was it a ship? Rescue? For a moment, I froze, torn between elation and terror. Then, instinct took over. I ran. Not toward the shore, waving my arms for help, but away, back into the trees. My pulse hammered in my throat as I reached my shelter, my hands shaking as I tore off my tattered shorts and shirt. I reached for the dress I had laid out the night before, a pale yellow sundress, thin from wear but still lovely. I slipped into it, fingers fumbling with the straps. The wig came next, then the makeup, applied in frantic, hurried strokes. I didn't have time to question why I was doing this. I just needed to. By the time I heard voices shouting from the beach, I was her again. I stepped out of the trees barefoot, the sand warm beneath my feet. The rescue team, 2 men in bright orange vests, stopped dead when they saw me. Their expressions flickered from shock to confusion to pity. "Ma'am," one of them called. Were you on the flight?"
"Ma'am."
The word sent a thrill through me so intense it nearly buckled my knees. I nodded, playing the part effortlessly. My voice, unused for so long, came out soft, hesitant.
"Yes."
I thought I was the only one. They rushed toward me, asking questions, wrapping a blanket around my shoulders. I let them believe. Because in that moment, I realized something terrifying and wonderful. I didn't want them to know the truth. As they led me to their boat, I cast one last look at the island, the place that had stripped me down to nothing and rebuilt me as someone new. And I knew, with absolute certainty, that I would never go back to the man I had been. The world ahead was uncertain, but she was ready for it. The rescue boat carried me away from the island, its engine humming against the endless blue. The men treated me with gentle concern, offering water, Food, a sympathetic ear. I played my role perfectly, the traumatized survivor, the lone woman who'd endured the impossible. Every flutter of my lashes, every nervous tuck of auburn hair behind my ear sold the illusion deeper. But beneath the performance, my mind raced. What happened when we reached civilization? Would they check records, realize no woman matching my description had been on that flight? Would doctors examine me, discover the truth beneath my dress? The fear should have been paralyzing, but instead, it was electrifying. A strange, thrilling danger pulsed through me with every mile we put between us and the island. The mainland emerged on the horizon like a mirage. Tall buildings, bustling docks, a world that had moved on without me. As we pulled into port, a crowd had already gathered. Reporters, medical personnel, curious onlookers drawn by the miracle survivor. Cameras flashed. Microphones jutted toward me. "Can you tell us your name?" a reporter called. I froze.
Name.
I hadn't spoken one aloud in months. The man I'd been had a name, of course, one that felt as distant now as the island behind me. But she needed something new, something that fit the woman I'd become. "Lily," I whispered. The name slipped out like a secret finally set free. The crowd murmured, jotting it down. The rescue team guided me to a waiting ambulance, where paramedics checked my vitals with clinical efficiency. I braced for the moment they'd realize, but their hands never strayed where they shouldn't. The wig stayed perfectly in place. The dress hid everything. And my demeanor, soft-spoken, vulnerable, feminine, left no room for doubt. At the hospital, they treated me for dehydration, malnutrition, exposure. Social workers arrived, offering help with lodging, identity documents, reintegration. I listened, nodding meekly, while my mind spun wilder plans. Because a realization had taken root. No one knew me. The man I'd been was presumed dead, lost to the ocean. The world had mourned him and moved on. And here I stood, Lily, a blank slate wrapped in a sundress and secondhand sandals. By the time I was discharged, I'd been given a temporary ID, a small stipend, and a referral to a women's shelter. Stepping onto the city streets for the first time, I felt like an alien in a glittering new world. The weight of the wig, the sway of the skirt, the click of heels on pavement, all of it should have felt unnatural. Instead, it felt like coming home. I found a thrift store and, with my meager funds, bought more clothes, flowing blouses, a denim skirt, a pair of wedge sandals. In the cramped dressing room, I caught my reflection and gasped. The woman staring back wasn't a castaway or a fraud. She was me. Weeks passed. I found a job at a cafe, charming tips out of customers with smiles and batted lashes. I rented a tiny apartment, filling it with thrifted decor and drugstore makeup. At night, I practiced my voice, softening its edges until even I couldn't hear the man I'd been. Then, one rainy afternoon, a familiar face walked into the cafe. Jason, a colleague from my old life. My stomach dropped as he glanced at me, then away, no recognition in his eyes. I forced myself to take his order, hand steady as I wrote large latte on the cup. When I handed it to him, he smiled. "Thanks, beautiful." The island had taught me survival. But this was living. I never looked back. The cafe became my sanctuary. Every morning, I tied my auburn wig into a loose ponytail, smoothed down my uniform apron, and painted on the persona of Lily with practiced ease. The other baristas treated me like a sister, gossiping about dates, sharing makeup tips, never once suspecting the truth. I relished the normalcy of it all, the way the world now saw me as just another girl trying to make ends meet. But the fear never fully left. Every time the bell above the door chimed, my heart would stutter. What if someone from my past walked in? What if Jason came back and, under brighter lights, saw through the illusion? The paranoia kept me awake at night, tangled in sheets that still smelled faintly of salt and survival. Then came the day everything nearly unraveled. A new segment played on the cafe's tiny TV, a retrospective on the plane crash a year later. My hands froze mid-pour as my old face flashed on the screen. Presumed deceased. Family members spoke in tearful soundbites. My stomach twisted. These people had mourned me. And here I was, alive, hiding in plain sight. "You okay, Lily?" Marissa, my coworker, nudged me. "You look like you've seen a ghost." I forced a laugh. "Just tired." That night, I stared at my reflection in my apartment's foggy bathroom mirror. The wig was off, revealing the shaggy remnants of my real hair. Stubble shadowed my jaw. For the first time since the rescue, I let myself remember him. The man whose name I'd buried. The guilt was a living thing, gnawing at my ribs. But then I reached for my makeup bag. Foundation erased the stubble. Mascara opened up my eyes. Lipstick gave me courage. With each stroke, Lily came back to life, and the man in the mirror faded further away. I had a choice: keep running or finally claim this life as my own. The transgender support group met every Thursday in a church basement. I lingered outside for 20 minutes before working up the nerve to step inside. The room was warm, lit by cheap fluorescent lights, filled with people at all stages of their journeys. When it was my turn to speak, my voice shook. "I'm Lily, and I think I've been hiding." The words poured out. The crash, the island, the dresses, the terrifying freedom of becoming someone new. To my shock, no one laughed. No one called me a fraud. A woman with kind eyes squeezed my hand and said, "Honey, you're not hiding. You're becoming." That night, I Googled gender clinics near me. 2 years later, the cafe threw me a going-away party. Hormones had softened my edges, rounded my hips, made Lily more than just a performance. I was leaving for cosmetology school, a dream born from months of perfecting my makeup in a jungle hut. As my coworkers hugged me goodbye, I realized with a jolt, they weren't saying farewell to a lie. They were celebrating me. On my way home, I passed a newsstand. The headline screamed, "Plane crash survivor found alive, living AS woman." My stomach dropped. There, beside my old photo, was a current shot of me leaving the cafe. Panic surged until I read the subhead. "After years of repression, survivor embraces true self. I finally feel free." The article quoted my support group leader, with my permission, framing my story as one of resilience and self-discovery. Not a scandal, a rebirth. I bought a copy, tucking it into my purse beside my updated ID. Lily and Carter, female. The island is still out there, a speck in the endless ocean. Sometimes, when I'm applying eyeliner or slipping into a sundress, I think about the desperate man who first zipped up that floral dress in a stormlit hut. He was never my enemy, just the cocoon I needed to break free. I press a kiss to my fingertips and send it toward the horizon, a thank you to the waves, the sand, the wild, lonely place that taught me the most important survival skill of all: how to be me. Thank you so much for watching till now. It means the world to have you here. This community is all about empowering each other and celebrating the incredible journeys of everyone on their path to living authentically. If you're ever feeling lost or alone, remember you have a whole family here for you. Hit that subscribe button, smash that like button, and let's keep inspiring each other, sending you all the love and strength in the world. Until next time, live your life by your rules.